CNN just hates it when a politician is respectful, has protocol and etiquette. Because that is exactly what the president of Finland showcased while Aaron Burnett over here tried to make him bash Trump. It's Sean Daniel here, and while you might be impressed with Aaron Burnett's smooth and slick way of asking these questions, especially some emotional questions that could possibly hit the president of Finland, I think you'll be more impressed with his answers and his way of maneuvering out of the position she's trying to put him in.
And now the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, as I promised, is with me because he was inside that meeting with Trump and Zelensky today, sitting next to Zelensky across from Trump. Finland, a crucial country for NATO and Europe, sharing an 830-mile border with Russia. In fact, it is the longest European border with Russia, and Finland is part of NATO. So, as we've made the point before, it's not about NATO. Even though Putin may say sometimes that it is. President Stubb, I appreciate your time. I'm so glad to talk to you again. I know it has been a long day, and you had to be flexible and go with the flow. Some things happened, unexpected timing, and you know, which speaks to the moment that we're in, the uncertainty. So at one point in this meeting, you're in the room across from Trump. You're sitting next to President Zelensky. And Trump at one point calls Putin in a call that Russia now says was 40 minutes long. I'm so curious, Mr. President, was there any conversation in the room about that call? Did Trump talk to you beforehand about it or after he got off the phone with Putin?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this was very much a day of Team Europe and Team US together supporting Ukraine. So first, us Europeans, we had a pre-meeting, and then after that, Zelensky had a bilateral meeting with President Trump. And then we spent the better part of 4 hours together with President Trump sussing out what we can do next. And one of the plans was for President Trump to tell President Putin basically what we had decided in the meeting. So yes, it was very coordinated and very constructive.
So you're saying that call, when the meeting sort of got paused, it sounds like what you're saying is because of the conversation that you're having in the room, that you all sort of said, okay, he said, all right, well, I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm going to go call him now. You guys were all in agreement with it? This is sort of how it sort of organically played out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so basically there were three outcomes of today. The first one was a good conversation on security guarantees. In other words, security guarantees by Europe and coordinated with the United States for Ukraine, and we start that work on concrete things immediately. The second one was a suggestion of a bilateral meeting between Zelensky and Putin, and that was what President Trump was testing with President Putin, and President Putin had agreed to do that meeting. And then the third step is after the bilateral meeting, if everything goes well, which is of course always a big if when you're dealing with Putin, there'll be a trilateral meeting. So I think this was one of these meetings where we kind of took, 3 steps forward rather than any backwards.
Do you know what Trump, said to Putin on the phone? I mean, what were the specifics that he put out there?
Well, I mean, President Trump then, after the call, we agreed to meet in the Oval Office, and we had a very thorough briefing by him of the conversation. But obviously, in diplomacy, what happens in the Oval Office stays in the Oval Office when the media is not in there.
Well, that isn't always true, but I appreciate that you are taking the high road and doing the right thing. I don't mean to laugh about it, but...
The contradiction of the media, something I'll never understand. She's happy he took the high road and didn't expose what Trump said with his thing with Putin, what Trump also said about their plans together that has not been released publicly. She's happy he didn't expose that. But yes, she asked the question. She asked, what did Trump say? What went on in the meeting? What went on when the media wasn't there? It's a contradictory thing, and it's funny because of his meek and sweet response. She kind of gets exposed and has to at least graciously bow out and say, okay, I'm glad you're not going to expose that. That's right, you're right. Maybe it's because he's not a U.S. politician, she's not going after him. Or maybe she's just sweeter than Dana Bash, like if you guys watched my other recent video just now, where Dana Bash just goes after somebody till they give the answer that they want. She at least backed off. That surprised me.
In this context, you're talking about he gets on the phone with Putin, then you all go into the Oval Office. There was a moment where I believe Trump was talking to your colleague, Keir Starmer, and he said something that was caught on a hot mic. He was talking about Putin. Let me play it for you, Mr. President.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds.
So you have told, I know in the past, Mr. President, Trump that no one can trust Putin, right? You have the longest land border in Europe with Russia. And you have a lot of troops that are on that border, as you've told me. And that's because of Russia, right? To state the obvious. What is your response when Trump says something, even at this point, that he believes that Putin will make a deal for him, because of him?
Well, I mean, I've been involved in peace mediation before, and I think that President Trump is genuinely trying to bring this war to an end, and we're all working in that direction. But of course, we are dealing with President Putin, and we do have to understand that his, basic strategic aims have not changed, and they are threefold. He wants to see Russia as a superpower. He wants to split the West, and he wants to deny the sovereignty of Ukraine. So that's the reality that we're dealing with. The reality is also that we have, a minimum of 1,000 people dead or wounded every day. So we're trying to do our best through diplomatic means to find a solution to this conflict, to Russia's war of aggression.
And when you talk about Russia's war of aggression and the history here of what Putin wants, it's personal to you, and not just because you happen to be the president of Finland and you've got the largest land border, all those things that I keep repeating. I mean, it's personal to you. Your father, your grandfather were both born in cities that Finland was forced to cede to the then Soviet Union, cities that are part of Russia now. So, I mean, do you have any doubts about Putin's ambitions when it comes to expanding Russian territory?
Well, I mean, we've seen that in both Georgia and in Ukraine. But, I keep on stressing the basics of it. So statehood is based on independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. And after World War II, which for us was the Winter War and the War of Continuation, Finland retained independence, unlike, for instance, our Baltic friends, unfortunately. But we lost sovereignty to decide, and we lost territory. But the difference there is that at that time, Finland was alone. But now Ukraine is not alone. And that's why I think it's so important that all of us, both Team Europe and Team US, keep on working for the independence, for the sovereignty, and the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And to be honest, I think if we work on the security guarantees, that will guarantee sovereignty and it will strengthen territorial integrity as well.
Got to give it to Erin Burnett and her team. That was a pretty impressive question. I'm sure the president of Finland has been asked that before. But that's a good personal tie to bring in about this Russian aggression. But if you watch my other video about the EU leaders meeting with Trump, you will see how smooth and good this guy is at being aware of his surroundings, giving a quality answer, and answering questions before they come up. Not only in important people's minds around him, but in the media's minds and in our minds, the American viewer. Just like how right now in this video, he avoided the Trump bash that she wanted him to do because of that hot mic moment. Which, by the way, what is up with these hot mics? Does the White House technical staff running that table where everybody was meeting, the EU leaders and Trump, can they not turn off the mics? Or was that a microphone from a news reporter? What's going on? But the president of Finland, back to the point, gave a great answer back to her as she tried to make it about Trump. Trump saying, Putin's going to make a deal with me. It's all because of me. He didn't take the bait, even though he knows, like I said in the previous video, nothing of this sort, this meeting with Putin, these future possible meetings with Putin, none of them happen without Trump in the U.S. And the president of Finland knows that. So he's not going to take the bait and start bashing on Trump. It's itsSeanDaniel here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see this video where the president of Finland handles himself so impressively while the other EU leaders do not, and some of them try to pressure Trump in a really disrespectful manner, check out this video right here. You can click on President Macron's face right there, and I'll see you there.